I didn't think a place could change me. But there's something about Gilgit-Baltistan, the silence of the mountains. The glow of the apricot trees in October. The way the stars look like they're watching you, not the other way around that I came for the views. I left with something much deeper. This isn't just about scenery, this is about stillness. Humanity. And the raw, unfiltered beauty of a place that most of the world has never seen. You've probably heard the names tossed around: Hunza, Skardu, Fairy Meadows, maybe even seen a drone video flying over turquoise lakes or sharp snow-capped peaks, but none of that prepares you for what Gilgit-Baltistan feels like when you're actually there. The quiet. The way time slows. The kindness of strangers. This region, tucked into the northern pocket of Pakistan, is home to some of the tallest mountains on Earth, including K2, and yet, it's not just about height. It's about heart. That I end this film, I want to take you there. Not just with facts or photos, but with memory. Feeling. Through the eyes of someone who saw it up close, and couldn't look away. The first time I saw Hunza, I was standing outside a tiny roadside chai dhaba near Karimabad. The sky was the softest blue I'd ever seen. The mountains stood like ancient sentinels in every direction. And a little boy offered me a dried apricot with a grin that said more than any welcome sign ever could. "It's sweet," he said. "Like the air." That was my introduction to Hunza. This valley sits along the ancient Silk Road, and even today, you can still feel the echoes of the travelers who once crossed these paths. The people here speak Burushaski, a language unrelated to anything else on earth, and there's a quiet pride in their eyes, the kind that comes from living in harmony with land this powerful. I visited Altat Fort and stood where queens once ruled. I walked to Eagle's Nest, where the view of the valley feels like a painting made real. And I spent one long, silent afternoon watching the sun fade behind Ladyfinger Peak, and I understood something. This wasn't just a trip. It was a kind of remembering, of stillness, of self, of slowness. Getting to Fairy Meadows isn't easy. First, there's the road, the infamous, terrifying, thrilling dirt path that snakes along cliffs from Rycote Bridge. One wrong turn, and you're looking at a 1,000-foot drop. But when you finally get there, when your jeep gives way to your feet, and your breath slows in the high-altitude air, it feels like stepping into something sacred. The meadows stretch like soft velvet underfoot. Nanga Parbat, the killer mountain, looms in front of you. Tall, jagged, ice-cold, and breathtaking, and in that moment, something shifts. I remember sitting by a campfire with a guide named Javed. He told me, "This mountain takes, but it also gives. It teaches you who you are." That night, I didn't sleep. I just stared at the stars. More of them than I've ever seen in my life. And for the first time in months, I didn't think about deadlines or screens or noise. I just existed. In a meadow made for dreams. If Hunza is grace, and Fairy Meadows is wonder, then Skardu is power. The road into the city winds along the mighty Indus, its waters furious and alive. And then, just as suddenly, you reach calm, green orchards, crystal lakes, and the quiet resilience of a city shaped by mountains. Skardu is a land of opposites. Stark desert cliffs sit beside lush valleys. Buddhist rock carvings dating back over 1,000 years lie not far from serene mosques and shrines. I stayed in Shigar Fort, a restored 17th-century palace now turned boutique hotel. It felt like living in history. One morning, I hiked to Satpara Lake. The water was so still it reflected the entire world upside down. My guide, Fatima, a young woman from the region, said, "People think we live in the middle of nowhere. But we are the center of everything." And she was right. From Skardu, you can reach the base camps of giants, K2, Broad Peak, the Gushabrooms. But even without summiting anything, Skardu makes you feel like you've climbed something within yourself. I didn't expect to cry in Deosai. It's a plateau, vast, windy, and endless. At over 13,000 feet, it's one of the highest plains in the world. You drive through wildflowers. See golden marmots dart between boulders. Snow leopards roam these lands, though they rarely show themselves. But that's not what got to me. It was the sound. Or rather, the lack of it. No cars. No machines. No human hum, just wind, and sky, and the occasional distant yelp of a Himalayan fox that I stood alone for an hour, just listening. And I realized I hadn't truly listened to nothing in years. This is what the world sounded like before we got here. I wrote in my notebook that I left Deosai with cracked lips and a full heart, that it happened on the way to Kapla, that we had stopped for tea beside a winding road, and I stepped away from the group, drawn by a narrow trail up the hill. At the top, I found an old man sitting beneath a walnut tree. He was sketching in a notebook with charcoal. I asked, "What are you drawing?" He didn't look up. Just smiled and said, "I draw to remember the days when the mountains were louder than the news." That sentence hit me like a wave. We live surrounded by noise. By urgency. By more, but here in this forgotten edge of the map, I found something else: stillness, silence, truth. When I got home, everything felt faster, the horns, the screens, the scrolling. But I also brought something back. A different rhythm. A memory of snow-capped mornings and fire-warmed nights. Of strangers who became friends over salt tea. Gilgit-Baltistan didn't just give me photos. It gave me a new definition of beauty, not just what looks good on camera, but what feels right in your soul. We think we go to the mountains to escape, I found myself telling a friend. But really, we go to remember what matters. If you're still watching, I hope one day you go there, not just to see it, but to feel it. And if you already have, tell me, what part of Gilgit-Baltistan left you speechless?